2, Ducky. Number 1111, Fever. Number 196, Poker. Number 1967, Joss. Number 22, Hoppy. Number 23, Saucy. Number 238, Dio. Number 3006, Riot. Number 32, Dalek. Number 672, March. Number 713, Die. Number 7184, Wolf. Number 888, Bob. On the bench, Chowda, Shan, Stunner, Elsies, Crusher, Liza, Otter, and I am Tipsy.
Thank you, Tipsy. Folks, your 2019 Vaudeville Vixens.
Oh, wow. How am I supposed to top that, Rich?
You can't.
No.
But you can try, I believe, Bob.
All right, let's take a look at the 2019 Reservoir Dolls. Number 106 is the Mad Gabber. Number 1105 is Barrel Roller. Number 12 is T-Rex. Number 13 is Cala de Wild. Number 1337 is Melee. Number 2, Critical Tits. 262 is Nat Splat. 270 is Cyanide. Number 5 is Miss Mechanics. 7734 is Hell Woods. Number 8 is Sasspot. 833 Honey Beast. 847 is Hello Sailor. And number 8990, Frankie Fatale. Ladies and gentlemen, your Reservoir Dolls. Woo!
Well, hello, sailor. Yes, hello, sailor.
That's right, and Hellwoods, both of them fostering on the Reservoir Dolls tonight. I am Dolly Pardon Me.
And I am the Goram Reaver.
And we are here to announce for you the Madison Roller Derby's Season 15 Championship Bout. Not championship bout, the championships are about 5. We're going to be announcing the...
This is the third place game.
Yeah, that's right. The third place game, they call it the grudge match.
The grudge match.
But it will
the
be
fight
the
for fourth.
That's right. The Vaudeville Vixens versus the Reservoir Dolls. And we're going to get this action started on the track. It looks like skaters are lining up. What you'll see on the track are blockers in the front of that line, which is called the jammer line, and then 2 skaters behind that line wearing stars on their helmets. They are the jammers. It looks like La March Madness jamming in pink for the Vaudeville Vixens, going up against Nat Splat jamming in black for the Reservoir Dolls.
And La March Madness has picked up lead jammer status, coming around to begin her scoring pass. Nat Splat not to the outside at the front of the pack, but...
That's right. Knocked out by Bonnie Riot as La March Madness gets right through the pack. So in roller derby, what you're seeing is that initial pass, and the person, the jammer, that is the first to get through legally and in bounds then becomes your lead jammer. That lead jammer then can call off the jam at any point in time. So we're going to line it up again. We've got The Mad Gabber jamming for the Reservoir Dolls in black. Number 106 jamming against
1967, that's Jocelyn Hell for the Vaudeville Vixens, and she is through, taking lead jammer status.
And the Mad Gabber around the outside there, getting through the pack as well. Now both jammers eligible to score points, so you'll see Jocelyn Hell getting around that outside there, turning her hips right as she passes T-Rex, calling off that jam. Picking up another, it looks like, 4 points for the Vaudeville Vixens.
Brief conversation amongst our jammer ref and outside pack referees to confer about whether or not Jocelyn was in front of that blocker before the jam ending whistle, and she was not. So that is only going to be 3 points for the Vixens on that pass.
So those jammers get a point for each blocker that they pass on the second and subsequent passes. Next up for the Reservoir Dolls, Barrel Roller jamming in black against Cat Scratch Fever jamming in pink.
And Barrel Roller picking up a cut penalty at the front of the pack and going to the Crucible penalty box.
That's right, Reaver. The penalty box is for when a skater commits a penalty, obviously, and that's something that's against the rules that they do. So a jammer going inbounds after she's been knocked out of bounds, and if they pass in front of the skater that knocked them out, then they get a cutting penalty. There are also all sorts of other penalties that we'll talk about throughout the game. But it looks like Cat Scratch Fever now out of that pack initially for the Vaudeville Vixens. The referee is signaling that she is not lead jammer, so this jam will go the full 2 minutes. Ooh, Cat Scratch Fever with a big fall there as the pack reforms in front of her. She gets up. It looks like Vaudeville Vixens reforming up in the front there in front of Barrel Roller, who's now out of the penalty box and back on the track. Now Cat Scratch Fever and Barrel Roller both approaching the pack again. Cat Scratch Fever having picked up 4 points that first scoring pass. Barrel Roller now eligible to score points. And again, this jam will go the full 2 minutes, so we've got another 30 seconds where both jammers will try to fight their way through.
So both jammers did become ineligible to earn lead status on their first pass. Barrel Roller by earning that penalty and going to the penalty box, and Cat Scratch Fever by removing her helmet cover during her initial pass.
So now Cat Scratch Fever trying to fight against the Reservoir Dolls blockers up in the front. It looks like Miss Mechanics, who just went off to the Crucible penalty box. Critical hits, and that's Melee out there on the track. Melee and Honey Beast blocking there for the Reservoir Dolls. Reservoir Dolls picked up 8 points in that last jam. First points on the board for them. Vixens also picked up 8, and so that brings them to 15 points. And now we're going to start the next jam. It looks like Reservoir Dolls down 1 blocker in the penalty box. Jamming for the Reservoir Dolls is Call It a Wild, going up against Dalek Doll for the Vaudeville Vixens.
And Call It a Wild takes lead jammer status very quickly. And Dalek Doll also has exited the pack, completing her initial pass, while Kala is completing her scoring pass.
And Call It a Wild calling off that jam, picking up 4 points and holding the Vixens scoreless on that last jam. So Res Dolls now with 12 points, Vixens with 15.
I do want to take a minute to give a big shout out to our officials. You'll see them out there on the track in the orange shirts and the black and white stripes. We have Rec Support, Slamity Jane, Macromaniac, Brazzle Dazzle, Cordova, Jezebel Kitty, Gumby, Just Danny, Shownuff, Mr. Welch, and Rainbow Confection doing our non-skating officiating for us today. We'll get to the skating officials in just a moment.
Now jamming for the Reservoir Dolls in black, Nat Splat against La March Madness, who just was out of the pack there and determined to be lead jammers for this jam. So Nat Splat still stuck in the pack behind the Vixen blockers as La March Madness hops over that inside line, picking up 4 points for the Vixens. The Vaudeville Vixens blockers out there on the track, though, really with some tight defense. Nat Splat now out of the pack finally on her initial pass. as LaMarche Madness tries to jump over that line, landing on her knees, but inbounds, calling off that jam. And LaMarche Madness picking up 12 points on that last jam. There you see her again, jumping up. She leaves the track inbounds, she lands inbounds, and even though she goes down, she does pick up all those points then. And folks, you are watching the Madison Roller Derby. And you're back watching Madison Roller Derby grudge match between the Vaudeville Vixens and the Reservoir Dolls. We're looking at the Mad Gabber jamming for the Res Dolls. Jocelyn Hell jamming for the Vaudeville Vixens. Both of the jammers out of the pack fast, and Jocelyn Hell called as lead jammer status, so Joss calls off that jam before either jammer can score any points.
Before the commercial break, we did give you our non-skating officials. I do want to give a big shout out to our referees, Eddie Lizard, Dark Matter, Johnny Zebra, Bjorn to Kill, No Ship Sherlock, Igru, Haley Hydra, and Cupcake Battering. Thanks to all of our officials. Of course, 15 seasons undefeated for United Derby officials. Local 608 couldn't be prouder.
That's right, and we couldn't do it without those officials. Now we've got jamming for the Reservoir Dolls Barrel Roller. It looks like Barrel Roller being recycled to the back of the pack as Cat Scratch Fever is trying to get through the Reservoir Dolls defense there. Cat Scratch Fever jamming in pink. With just 2 Reservoir Dolls to pass, it looks like Cyanide and Miss Mechanics up there in the front as Honey Beast bridges is what we call it. She's making sure that the pack is still, or that the blockers are still within play. So another one of the rules is that you have to be within the engagement zone or the pack there in order to engage a jammer or block any of the skaters legally. Cat Scratch Fever knocked to the outside by Cyanide and recycled to the back. And Barrel Roller still in the front there behind the Vaudeville Vixens, working on getting through on her initial pass. Miss Mechanics taking down Cat Scratch Fever in the corner there. It looks like being called on a penalty. We'll head to the Crucible penalty box. And now Cat Scratch Fever out of the pack. But I don't know. I believe she is your lead jammer, yes. And now through the pack for 4 points for the Vixens. Another 4 points.
Barrel Roller finally making her way towards the front of the pack, but getting knocked to the outside, so having to recycle to the back once again.
And the Reservoir Dolls holding back Cat Scratch Fever there, right behind the Vaudeville Vixens defensive wall that's been holding back Barrel Roller. Honey Beast going up to the front, trying to play some offense. But it looks like the jam is called off by Cat Scratch Fever. The Vixens with 11 points in that last jam.
As you can see, we do have a bit of a penalty discrepancy. 9 for the Reservoir Dolls and only 4 so far for the Vaudeville Vixens.
And that's right, just in that first 10 minutes, 2 of the Reservoir Dolls now with 3 penalties on the board.
And we are going to take an official timeout, which means it is an excellent time for us to thank Pabst Blue Ribbon, who proudly sponsors Madison Roller Derby. So PBR yourself ASAP at a nearby concession. What'll you have?
Pabst Blue Ribbon. That's right, and we couldn't do this without our officials, but also without Hinckley Design and Production. We want to thank you to our sponsor, Hinckley Productions. Need quality commercial video, dependable live streaming? Don't get your helmet covers in a bunch. Call Hinckley Productions. Rolling with MRD since 2008, their award-winning services will help your business be victorious.
And our officials timeout has come to a conclusion. We now have Dalek Doll jamming for the Vaudeville Vixens and Call It a Wild jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. Dalek Doll taking the lead jammer status.
Dalek out of that pack fast as Call It a Wild is recycled to the back of the pack. Now trying to get through on that inside line as Dalek Doll gets around the pack. They're picking up 4 points and making her way around the track again. And that's what your defense can do for you. The Vaudeville Vixens defense holding back the Reservoir Dolls jammer, allowing Dalek to just lap the pack as many times as possible, picking up to a total of 4 points each time. Now Call It a Wild out of the pack, I believe, putting on the helmet cover. Sometimes you'll see that jammer take off of the star cover, a star stash they call it, so that they try to avoid allowing the blockers to know which blocker is, or which skater is the jammer. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Dalek Doll calling off that jam with 12 points for the Vixens. They are up to 50 points. Reservoir Dolls with 12. We still have 19 minutes to go in this first period.
Do you suppose it's easier to pull off a stealth move like that when you're in black uniforms than if you're wearing a bright color like pink?
I think so. I think that. But a lot of times those skaters can look the same if they're all coming up in a pack. We've got March Madness now jamming in pink, Nat Splat jamming in black, and Nat Splat, you saw, took off that helmet cover, gets out of the pack, and after March Madness, I think, was issued that lead jammer status, she did get recycled back into the pack as Nat Splat was released, and so she calls off the jam. It's better and more strategic for a jammer to call off that jam, not having any points, than to have the opposing team pick up 4 points when you may or may not be able to. And
Only
aren't
if you're
sure.
dedicated to getting more points than the other team.
That's the goal, hey? All right, now we've got the Mad Gabbard jamming for the Reservoir Dolls in black, Jocelyn Hell jamming for the Vixens in pink, and Jocelyn Hell getting by critical hits, picking up lead jammer status for the Vixens. And we've seen the Vixens time and time again throughout this first period getting lead jammer status.
And Sassbot taking Jocelyn to the outside and trying to recycle her back, and Jocelyn decides, Gabbard's coming. I think I'll end the jam.
That's right. Smart move by Jocelyn Hell, ending the jam. 0 points on either board, or on either team. We want to thank Lauer Realty Group. In the rink, you need helmet and pads. In this real estate market, you need Lauer Realty Group. And next up, we're going to see Barrel Roller jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. Cat Scratch Fever jamming for the Vixens. Again, we've seen these two match up as jammers in the past. Jams here. Cat Scratch Fever up against Cyanide. Cyanide holding her back as the rest of the pack comes up around that turn. Barrel Roller now trying to make her way through the inside there, held up at the front by Bonnie Riot. Knocked down, but she gets right back up. Barrel Roller is the lead jammer, even though Cat Scratch Fever is the jammer in the lead on this pass.
So Barrel Roller has elected to end the jam to prevent Cat Scratch Fever from scoring any points, and we will be back with more Derby action shortly.
And welcome back. You're watching the Madison Roller Derby. You're watching the championship grudge match of season 15, the Vaudeville Vixens against the Reservoir Dolls.
Currently, Vixens have 50 points. Reservoir Dolls only have 12. And on the line right now, we've got Dalek Doll wearing the star for the Vixens, and Call It a Wild is jamming for the Res Dolls. Dalek Doll takes lead jammer status. Kala is removing her helmet cover and still trying to make her way through the pack.
Frankie Fatale and Sassbot doing a little bit of offense on the outside line there, but as they see Dalek Doll coming around the track, they try to form some defense. Dalek gets right through that pack, though, picking up 4 points for the Vaudeville Vixens. And Dalek with a great jump there over one of the blockers right on the line, picks up another 4 points and decides to call off that jam before the Reservoir Dolls can put any points on the board.
Dolly.
Yeah.
Bold, creative, and unconventional. Do you know what those words are about?
Is that about Dalek Doll? And that jump right there? Because that
It
is
should
pretty
be,
bold.
Because that is bold.
Definitely.
But it is also about Tangent Brewing, the latest concept from the masterminds of Vintage Brewing Company.
Awesome.
So
And they are newly opened on Washington Street,
on
too.
East Washington
on
Avenue.
East
yes,
Washington,
yes.
yeah.
They promise unique offering of craft brews, and elevated noms. You can expect the same amazing vintage brewing company beers you know and love, and in addition, unconventional takes on traditional styles dreamt up by our clever brewmaster.
They do have some clever brewmasters there at Vintage Brewing Company, as well as, I'm sure, some great things at Tangent. So I am going to definitely check that out.
And we are currently in a team timeout. The Reservoir Dolls have elected to use the first of their 3 timeouts for this game.
All right, we see on the board there Miss Mechanics, and with 4 penalties for the Reservoir Dolls. Otherwise, just a small spattering of penalties there. There you see folks in the penalty box. It looks like Diaphragm of the Vaudeville Vixens will start this jam in the penalty box. That gives the Reservoir Dolls a bit of an advantage with 4 skaters on the track against the Vixens 3, and it looks like they are starting up on the pivot line. Jammers on the back line, the jammer line, and back in the day when we played roller derby years ago,
Back in the day,
a few years back, we would start up on the pivot line to give those jammers a running start. That's what they do here, and it looks like Nat Splat picking up lead jammer status as she gets through the pack. LaMarch Madness also out of the pack, and
actually it looks like LaMarch Madness is lead jammer, and Nat Splat has picked up a penalty.
I see.
And gone to the Crucible penalty box. I missed what call that was.
But at least you saw the correct jammer pointing. The penalty there will give the Vaudeville Vixens a power jam. LaMarch Madness going to take some points on that first pass through the power jam. I think this is her second pass. Nat Splat now standing in the penalty box. That'll be meaning that there's 10 seconds or less. She's released from the penalty box and now has to get through that pack on her initial pass. A big knockdown there in the back there.
Looks like that came from Diaphragm. There was some post-jam handshaking between her and the jammer, so props all around. That's one of the things I love about Derby is we're all just one big family.
That's right. We're trying to win on the track, but the minute we get off or the jam whistle ends, we are team league mates and friends. So the Vixens on that last jam picked up 12 points. And now the next jam has begun. The Mad Gabber jamming for the Reservoir Dolls, and Jocelyn Hell, your lead jammer for the Vaudeville Vixens.
Mad Gabber, meanwhile, has completed her initial pass as well. Let's see how. And Joss is going to go ahead and call the jam pretty quickly. She takes 2 points up on the board for the Vixens before Mad Gabber can score anything for the Reservoir Dolls. I do want to talk about a safe way to get home. It's important to be safe, and Union Cab is one of our sponsors. They want you to get home safe when you roll out of the bout. So download their app or give them a call at 242-2000.
Anytime you're unable to drive, give Union Cab a call. You can also check out their online app.
Yes.
So do it.
Fabulous ways to get yourself a ride.
All right, we've got Barrel Roller jamming for the Reservoir Dolls in black against Cat Scratch Fever jamming for the Vixens in pink. And Honeybeast trying to play some offense against the Vixen wall there, getting Barrel Roller out towards the front with 1 to pass.
And a forearm penalty for Barrel Roller, sending her to the penalty box. So she will sit in the Crucible penalty box for the next 30 seconds. And lead status is open and available for Cat Scratch Fever.
The one thing with Power Jam now, the Reservoir Dolls are all on defense. The Vixens are all on offense. Or that's really all you have to focus on when only one jammer is on the track. Otherwise, these skaters are playing simultaneous offense and defense, or at least trying to decide which is the most important. But right now, with Cat Scratch Fever, the only jammer, those Reservoir Dolls are doing a great job of just focusing on defense, recycling up to the front. You see the Vaudeville Vixens trying to signal. It looks like Bonnie Riot signals to Cat Scratch Fever, pass me that star, so she does. Cat Scratch Fever passes the jammer helmet cover to the pivot. That was Bonnie Riot, so now Bonnie Riot is the active jammer. And because Barrel Roller has gone to the penalty box and Cat Scratch Fever was lead jammer, this jam will go the full 2 minutes. So you'll see the jam timer below the penalty time. So 20 more seconds for both jammers to try and score as many points as possible. And Bonnie Riot, a really strong blocker, but also doing a great job of knowing when to find that hole and pass through that pack. So Bonnie Riot and Cat Scratch Fever at the beginning, they're picking up 12 points for the Vaudeville Vixens. And there you see such great, agility on those toe stops and awareness that Bonnie Riot has. She knows she's right by that inside line, so she's got to get up on those toe stops, move forward so that she doesn't get knocked out of bounds and have to go back behind.
And in this jam, we have Dalek Doll jamming for the Vaudeville Vixens with Call It a Wild jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. Both jammers working hard to get their way through the pack. Call It a Wild out first, earns lead jammer status. Dalek Doll about half a lap behind.
Call It a Wild going around the outside there as Dalek Doll comes up on the inside, knocking into, I believe, Cyanide, having to recycle herself to the back of the pack. Call It a Wild is lead jammer, but deciding to try and get as many points as possible there before she calls off the jam. And it looks like maybe both teams there pick up 4 points. Call It a Wild picking up 2 on that last pass as well. So a total of 6 points go to the Res Dolls in that last jam. Vixens with 4. And that brings us to Vixens 88, Reservoir Dolls 25.
And of course, a thank you to Fast Forward Skate Center, Madison's #1 roller skating rink. Join them all year round for open roller skating, birthday parties, and private parties.
All right, we see Nat Splat jamming for the Reservoir Dolls against La March Madness jamming for the Vixens. La March Madness, your lead jammer. Out of the pack first as Nat Splat is recycled to the back of the pack. Knocked to the outside. Getting right back in there. And being recycled to that inside too. She has to go back behind. That one more blocker to pass does get through. As La March Madness making her way through the pack there on her second point scoring pass for 8 points. Looks to call off that jam. But nope, continues to skate, trying to fight her way through that pack. And Nat Splat now out of the pack right next to La March Madness. They do call the jam off there. Vixens with 12. Nat Splat with 4.
And we are going to take a short break. We'll see you back at Madison Roller Derby shortly.
Hi, you're watching Madison Roller Derby, and we're here at the Alliant Energy Center for the 5th bout this 15th season. We're watching the Vaudeville Vixens take on the Reservoir Dolls.
And we currently have Jocelyn Hell taking the star for the Vaudeville Vixens, but the Mad Gabber has earned lead jammer status for the Reservoir Dolls. And is closing on the pack, trying to score points before Jocelyn Hell can score any. She ends the jam.
She does get through the two or three Vixens, I think, on the track, 2 in the penalty box.
So 4 points for the Reservoir Dolls, but 3 for Jocelyn Hell and the Vaudeville Vixens brings us to a score of 103-33.
That's right. Reservoir Dolls in the back of the pack there, so the Mad Gabber having to get all the way to the front to pass the Vixens, and then as she calls off the jam, Vaudeville Vixens jammer was able to score those points. Now we're going to see Barrel Roller jamming for the Reservoir Dolls against Cat Scratch Fever jamming for the Vixens. And Barrel Roller pushing the Vaudeville Vixens defense up into the front there. Out of the pack first, Barrel Roller is the lead jammer for the Reservoir Dolls. And that's what the Reservoir Dolls are going to need to do is utilize that lead jammer status in getting through the pack, picking up 4 points, holding the Vixens to 0 for the next period. So these teams will play a whole nother period of 30 minutes. So even though the Vixens have quite a bit of a lead on the Reservoir Dolls, anything can happen. Barrel Roller does call off that jam and picks up 4 points for the Reservoir Dolls, holding the Vaudeville Vixens to 0.
We do want to thank UW Health and Unity Point Health, Meritor, and Quartz. They're committed to the health of our community and a proud sponsor to Madison Roller Derby.
All right, lining up for the Reservoir Dolls, we've got Nat Splat on the jammer line in black, going against Dalek Doll in pink for the Vixens. Dalek Doll knocked down to the outside and recycled to the back of the pack. Nat Splat trying to get through the Vaudeville Vixens, but knocked to the inside. She decides to go all the way to the back there, and it looks like because she was called by the referees to the Crucible penalty box. So this will give the Vaudeville Vixens a power jam. Dalek Doll still trying to make her initial pass through, finds that hole on the inside, picks up lead jammer status for the Vixens. And now the Vixens just lining up behind the Reservoir Dolls wall, trying to time it just right. So as Dalek Doll comes around the track, they play a little bit of offense. Dalek Doll through that pack, picking up 4 points for the Vixens. Nat Splat now back on the track and getting around that outside. That's her initial pass as Dalek Doll will try and get through the pack. She gets knocked to the inside and decides to call off the jam. And it looks like she does so before the Reservoir Dolls are able to pick up any points. So 7 more points on the board for the Vixens, 110 to the Reservoir Dolls 37. And we've seen the Reservoir Dolls doing a really good job of defense, but the Vixens really out defending them a little bit with keeping their jammers behind the pack as they've been able to do so far. The Vaudeville Vixens also picking up a lot of lead jammer statuses, just like Jocelyn Hell does in this next jam here. The Mad Gabber jamming for the Reservoir Dolls.
Mad Gabber getting held up in the front by a pretty effective 3-wall. Looks like we've got Bonnie Riot and a couple of her compatriots.
That's right.
She finally gets past them.
And that's Wolf Rammer and I believe another one of the Vixens rookies.
I believe that, was that misconduct?
That was misconduct, yes.
Misconduct. Well done to the 3 of them.
All the blockers out there that we don't get to say their names enough, we totally appreciate you. And really, we have to focus a lot of times on who the jammers are. We're going to see Barrel Roller and Cat Scratch Fever again jamming for the Reservoir Dolls and the Vixens, respectively. But out there blocking for the Vaudeville Vixens, we see Pokey Doll and Bubba Luscious there as Barrel Roller rolls right through and picks up lead jammer status. Reservoir Dolls jammers, T-Rex, critical hits, Sassbot, and looks like, oh, that's Hell Woods. Hell Woods also a foster skater for the Unholy Rollers. Doing a great job out there. Last blocker to get by, holding back Cat Scratch Fever as Barrel Roller got through and picked up 4 points for the Reservoir Dolls as she gets through that next pass there. I thought she tried to call that jam off, but it looks like Barrel Roller still getting right back up and trying to fight her way through to pick up some more points for the Reservoir Dolls.
So in that jam, 4 points for the Vixens, 7 points for the Reservoir Dolls. We are now at 116 to 44. Dolly. If you like to watch skaters wreck it up on the track, do you know what you'll love?
What's that?
You'll love to wreck it up in outer space.
That's right.
Tertiab's Truncatus Studios is bringing our space opera The Day We Fought Space to a mobile device near you with dozens of zany spacecraft, every bit as unique as your favorite skaters.
All right, and those skaters out there jamming for the Vixens is La March Madness. Out of the pack first, your lead jammer for the Vaudeville Vixens, jamming against Nat Splat for the Reservoir Dolls. And Nat Splat being released from the pack there just as La March Madness makes her way through on a point-scoring pass. And La March calling it off before Nat Splat can pick up any points. But high fives going around between all of them. A lot of these skaters will skate together as Dairyland Dolls as well as on Team Unicorn over the summer months. You can check out all of the teams for Madison Roller Derby on madisonrollerderby.org. You can also see the Dairyland Dolls attending games, I believe, in Denver, St. Paul, and other out-of-state locations as they represent Madison on the Worldwide Derby circuit. So check that out, too.
Jocelyn Hell has taken lead jammer status in this jam for the Vaudeville Vixens. Mad Gabber is hot on her heels. Jocelyn sneaks through. Let's see how that shakes out.
And the Mad Gabber coming through right behind Jocelyn Hell. Jumping up. Yep,
look at this.
Jumping up right over her.
Apex jump in the front, puts up 4 points before Jocelyn can pass any of
and you see it in
the
reverse.
Doll blockers.
Back again. Nice landing by the Mad Gabber. And that brings us to halftime. So we'll see the Reservoir Dolls and the Vaudeville Vixens take on one another in the second half when we get back.
My name is Natalie Hinckley, owner of Hinckley Productions. I've been doing video since I was a kid. Now I've built this video production company, and for the past 10 years, I get to do what I love every single day. We partner with clients to tell their stories, shooting and editing videos for many brand names that you'd recognize and local businesses alike. In short, video spots used online, through social media, and broadcast. The live production division of the business utilizes multi-camera switching, projection, and live streaming. We have 2 studio locations, one in Madison, the other one in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Here we meet with clients, we edit all of our videos, and we also house our production equipment. Now most of our shoots are done on location. We can shoot here or access larger facilities as needed. We have a number of different cameras to work with depending on your job requirements. Everything from a simple GoPro to a high frame rate 4K camera. When you see our van rolling through town, you'll know that we've got all the right tools to get the job done. Hinckley Productions is built upon authenticity, diversity, reliability, and quality. We hope to work with you on your next project.
Madison Roller Derby is a community of strong, independent, amazing people that are not only athletes but also committed volunteers and staff, recreational skaters, competitive interleague skaters, and we have been part of this league and part of this community for now going on 15 years.
It's fun, it's entertaining, it's something that we are really proud to be a part of. I think within that, the love and empowerment that comes from playing this sport is this responsibility to give back to our community and support the growth and success of Madison, which encompasses Madison Roller Derby.
I grew up playing a lot of sports, but never really felt like I entirely belonged or fit in or could be myself, and Derby felt like a place that combined all of the things that I loved socially, being able to be openly queer and kind of punk rock, but also a serious athlete.
There's just an incredible range of personalities, people from different backgrounds, different careers. There's so many connections here with roller derby.
It's just been something where I've been challenged in every single aspect of my life, and it always comes back to derby teaching me a lesson, teaching me that I can be better.
Every year we get a new crew in, and every year you get to see them experience roller derby, help them learn how to be leaders.
I love that community outreach has always been part of MRD's mission and vision from the beginning, because I think our founders and even now we recognize that we don't exist in a vacuum, and every one of us comes from different parts of the community.
We're a part of Madison, and we live here. We are parents, we are neighbors, we're students. It's important that we recognize that and make sure that we are giving back as much as we are getting from the community that surrounds us.
Over the past 15 years, we've donated over $80,000 to nonprofits and have spent thousands of hours working in Madison communities and other Wisconsin nonprofits in the area.
We're building an army of amazing people that want to do more for the community, and every year we grow. We're trying to grow along with Madison in a positive way.
Right now, Madison Roller Derby really needs your help to continue rolling forward. Our mission is very important to us, and we hope to continue that long into the future. But right now, we need a new home for both our growth and our current membership.
Having a building of our own means we can create a much better fan experience, because we hope to not only have our practices there, but hopefully also host games. We can host more games, different kinds of games. We can bring in more community partners. We can even bring in other community organizations that fit our mission and the space that we have, and provide that as a community resource.
If we lost roller derby as an organization and a sport and an opportunity for women, that would be a huge detriment.
We need to raise $500,000, and I know that sounds like a lot of money, but with your help and the community's help, I think that we can get it done. You can become a sustaining member, you can share this video, you can make a larger sum donation. We support all of those options.
We want to continue to grow our mission of being this empowering, inclusive space for people of all identities and backgrounds. So we are now turning to the community and asking humbly for your financial support to help make this thing happen.
Hello, and we're back watching the Reservoir Dolls take on the Vaudeville Vixens on our Season 15 grudge match of the championship bout tonight here at the Alliant Energy Center. So this is the first game in the fifth season bout that we've seen here this season. So, so far the Vixens taking the lead, the commanding lead with 120, Reservoir Dolls with 48, but we still have 30 minutes to go, and that is going to give the Reservoir Dolls a chance to come back, hold the Vaudeville Vixens to that 120 and come back and possibly even score more points. We will just see what happens in this next half. We've seen some great camaraderie between the teams. I see that some of the Reservoir Dolls are wearing their pink fishnet pants or shorts or little shirts. Sometimes you'll see folks with a pink tie on or something like that. But yeah, Vaudeville Vixens really with a lot of strong jammers picking up lead jammer in that first half. But this half starts off with Nat Splat jamming for the Reservoir Dolls, picking up lead jammer status. Jamming against the March Madness of the Vaudeville Vixens.
The March also out of the pack and coming to score points. And Nat Splat has not ended the jam, so both jammers will score 4 points in that first scoring pass.
Nat Splat going to take another pass at that pack. She gets held up and knocked to the outside, calls off the jam. And we'll see if she picks up a couple points there.
Looks like no more points for the Res Dolls on that jam, and nothing else for the Vixens either. So that takes us to 124 to 52. And lining up a whole new crowd of blockers and jammers. We've got Jocelyn Howe getting ready to jam for the Vaudeville Vixens, and the Mad Gabber getting ready to jam for the Reservoir Dolls.
Mad Gabber trying to push past in the front there, gets knocked to the outside and has to recycle around, but comes up the inside and picks up lead jammer status. Now, folks, just joining us, you'll see the jammer that's in the lead isn't always the lead jammer, but the jammer that the referee indicates by pointing to the sky and determining lead jammer gets to call off that jam. So the Mad Gabber got to that point scoring pass first, scored 1 point and called off that jam before the Vixens jammer could score any points. Those jammers, again, the skaters with the helmet cover that has the big star that are lining up in the back. Jamming for the Reservoir Dolls, this next jam, we're going to see Barrel Roller jamming against Cat Scratch Fever from the Vaudeville Vixens. And in the first period, we've seen Barrel Roller and Cat Scratch Fever go up against one another multiple times. I think the Cat Scratch Fever having the majority of lead jammer statuses out of those times, but I don't have the exact stats before me. I know Barrel Roller did have lead jam a couple times in that first period as well. It looks like both of them up against some tight defense on the opposing team. So Barrel Roller not able to get by those Vixens. Cat Scratch Fever just getting by the Reservoir Dolls now, does pick up lead jammer status. And Barrel Roller still trying to get around, get through the pack. Cat Scratch Fever approaches the pack, knocking into Barrel Roller, and now caught behind blockers on the Reservoir Dolls.
And we have an Ian's Pizza Star Pass for the Reservoir Dolls. T-Rex is now the jammer for the Res Dolls.
So you saw Barrel Roller take off her helmet star, her helmet cover, pass it to the pivot. The pivot is the one with the stripe on their helmet cover, and they're able to receive a star pass from the jammer. So T-Rex was the active jammer there, but unable to score any points before the Vixens called off that jam. Ian's Pizza, you mentioned, with that Star Pass, is a proud sponsor of Madison Roller Derby. Ian's Pizza has 2 downtown locations, 100 State Street next to the Capitol, and 319 North Francis near the Kohl Center. Both locations are open late. Order online at ianspizza.com. Downtown delivery is available, and I know they are also opening up a new Ian's Pizza in the on the east side of town. I believe it is in the Garver Feed Mill area that they're remodeling behind Olbrich Gardens. So that's going to be in the summer coming up.
Looking forward to that.
So yeah.
Well, we are currently in an official timeout, and so that gives us a chance to get another shout out to one of our awesome sponsors. Let's hear it for Delta Beer Lab. They're a quick hop, skip, and a jump over the Beltline from us here at Alliant Energy Center near the Novation campus, near Exact Sciences. So please stop in and visit Delta Beer Lab. Believe it or not, this is Wisconsin, and we do have a lot of sponsors who make beer. So please go out and sample them all.
That's right.
There are sponsors who make beer. We have sponsors who serve beer that other people make.
There's just a lot of beer in the state.
It is. I read an article recently about beer and beer laws in the state, and it was really fascinating.
Lots of stuff out there, yeah.
It is one of our major industries, and delicious.
One of the best sporting industries, though, roller derby, which you're watching here live. The Vaudeville Vixens taking on the Reservoir Dolls. We've got the Vaudeville Vixens up 127 to the Reservoir Dolls 53 points, but we still have over 26 minutes in this second period. And we've got an official timeout. We want to thank our officials, all of those in stripes as skating officials, and all of those in the red shirts as non-skating officials help us do what we do out there on the track.
And I do want to give a special shout out to the newest member of United Derby Officials Local 608. That is Cupcake Battering.
Awesome.
Just approved for crew membership. He's been with us for a while as a guest official, is now one of us. One of us.
We've got Call It a Wild and Dalek Doll out there jamming. Dalek Doll jumping through but being recycled to the back. Meanwhile, Call It a Wild out of the pack was first and established lead jammer status for the Reservoir Dolls. Now on her second point scoring pass around the track. Both jammers threw on that first pass, picking up 4 points. And Call It a Wild out of the front of the pack as Dalek Doll is knocked down in the back. Calls off the jam. Wolfie calls off that jam, sits down after high-fiving some of her teammates, and that brings the Reservoir Dolls to 8 points in that jam. Vixens with 5.
Lining up for this jam, we've got La March Madness for the Vaudeville Vixens and Nat Splat taking the star for the Reservoir Dolls. Our jam is underway. Both jammers working to get their way through the pack. Nat Splat has, La March Madness has worked her way to the front and completed her initial pass, earning lead jammer status.
Nat Splat out of the pack as well as La March Madness makes her way through on that point-scoring pass. Taking advantage of the holes on the track there, she gets through and calls off the jam after picking up 4 points.
We've talked a bit about the officials, but we haven't talked about how you can become an official. If you're interested in officiating roller derby, if you like to watch and be judgy, or if you like to do paperwork, officiating might be something you would enjoy. All you need to do is email officials@madisonrollerderby.org. They will get you all the information you need on how you too can be a roller derby official.
All right, now jamming for the Reservoir Dolls, the Mad Gabber in black against Jocelyn Hell in pink, jamming for the Vaudeville Vixens. Jocelyn Hell pushing her way to the front there, out on the outside, does pick up lead jammer status for the Vixens. And the Mad Gabber recycled there, but out of the pack on her initial pass as well. Jocelyn Hell through the pack.
Everybody trying to say all the same things at the same time. She does end the jam. And that is 4 points for each jammer.
Yes, and just as Jocelyn Hell called off that jam, the Mad Gabber snuck through there on the last, or through the pack and picked up those 4 points as well. We're going to see a quick look back. Jocelyn Hell rolling out. Mad Gabber jumping up over the Vaudeville Vixens blockers and picking up those 4 points.
Again with stealth and black.
That's
You
right.
gotta watch out for that. They can be sneaky.
That Mad Gabber, she's doing good in that role this evening. Barrel roller now, jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. Jamming against Cat Scratch Fever for the Vaudeville Vixens. And barrel roller is your lead jammer for the Reservoir Dolls. Cat Scratch Fever having to pass one more Reservoir Doll blocker. It looks like T-Rex up in the front as barrel roller hits the back of the pack on her point scoring pass. Knocked to the inside by Bonnie Riot.
Having to get recycled. Meanwhile, Cat Scratch Fever gets herself out at the front of the pack, completing her initial pass.
And barrel roller there with some good toe stop action, getting past a couple of the Vixens. They recycle and reform in front of her, so she decides to call off that jam, but does manage to pick up 4 points and keep the Vixens 2-0.
And we will be back in just a few minutes.
And you're watching Madison Roller Derby. I'm Dolly Pardon Me.
I'm the Goram Reaver.
And we're here watching the Vaudeville Vixens take on the Reservoir Dolls in the 5th matchup of this season. They are playing the grudge match in season 15. We've got Dalek Doll jamming in pink for the Vixens. Call It a Wild jamming in black for the Reservoir Dolls. And both jammers are out of the front of the pack almost simultaneously, but it looks like Dalek Doll has been called as your lead jammer. Dalek Doll calls off that jam as she approaches the back of the pack with Call It a Wild right there hot on her heels. She decides to take 0 points rather than allowing any to go to the other team.
Dolly, do you know why everyone should come and watch roller derby in person instead of catching it on the feed or on
Because
television?
they can buy awesome merch.
That's
they
an
can,
excellent reason.
They can see friends. They can get signatures
Wonderful reasons.
from the teams and meet their favorite skaters.
They can also listen to Saturn's 8. Our fabulous DJ,
Awesome.
Andrew Larson of Saturn's 8, provides a soundtrack with modern flair and retro flair and modern edge.
That's right.
And he does that for us here at every single one of our bouts.
And it's definitely great to watch on the screen here. We saw La March Madness for the Vixens just pick up 3 points in that jam, picked up lead jammer status, and then 3 more points. We'll be able to show you the penalties and tell you a little bit about the action, but to see it here live is definitely definitely a better experience.
Yes,
I
it
think.
is.
So definitely, when you can, check out Madison Roller Derby at the Alliant Energy Center or wherever we are skating. Now back to the action on that track. We've got Jocelyn Hell jamming against the Mad Gabber. You saw Jocelyn Hell break out of the pack, picking up lead jammer status against the Mad Gabber again, who's been stealthy this bout. See, she's right up there in the back. But Jocelyn Hell calls off the jam after she picks up 3 points before the Mad Gabber can pick up any for the Reservoir Dolls. And we've seen a lot of jammers kind of lined up against similar or against the same jammer over and over here. They must be in that same kind of 3-jammer rotation. We've got Barrel Roller and Cat Scratch Fever going to be up to the jammer line again.
And we are now going to have a team timeout called once again by the Reservoir Dolls, which means we get to talk about even more sponsors.
That's right.
If you come here in person, not only do you get to hear Saturn's 8 and buy yourself a PBR, but you can also get some Chocolate Shop ice cream. This is the best ice cream made in Wisconsin, and it tastes so good because it has gobs of rich Wisconsin cream, tons of real ingredients, and boatloads of luscious flavor. That means it's not low fat, low calorie, or low anything, and that's why everyone loves it. You want nutrition? Eat a carrot.
That's right. And you just saw the Vaudeville Vixens out there with Tipsy Velvet doing a little bit of talking, coaching the team. Most of that coaching might have been just dancing, getting them loosened up. If you want to push yourself to a new level, meet new folks, come and join the summer skate camp. Practices are Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday evenings from June to September. Check out MadisonRollerDerby.org and look for our summer skate camp information. These skaters do a lot of training to make this sport look easy here on the screen. You've got Barrel Roller jamming for the Reservoir Dolls against Cat Scratch Fever, jamming for the Vaudeville Vixens again. And the blockers working together in the front to hold back that jammer. Cat Scratch Fever able to find a hole and get out first is your lead jammer for the Vaudeville Vixens.
Barrel Roller still fighting to make her way through the pack on her initial pass. It's getting stymied by that wall at the back. We've got Bubbaluscious, Bonnie Riot, and
Wolframmer.
Keeping her locked down pretty tight at the back of the pack.
And up there for the Reservoir Dolls, it looks like we've got T-Rex, Sassbot, and Melee holding back Cat Scratch Fever on her point-scoring pass.
Looks like Barrel Roller is going to head to the Crucible penalty box, which means we have a power jam for Cat Scratch Fever and the Vaudeville Vixens.
Another advantage that the Vixens have been able to have during the bout this evening or during this game is that the Reservoir Dolls jammer has been sent to the penalty box significantly more times than the Vaudeville Vixens jammer. So the jammers in pink doing a good job of staying on that track, picking up points and utilizing those power jams. The Reservoir Dolls, though, doing a good job on defense during a couple of those power jams to hold the Vixens from getting too many points. Sometimes those power jams can go a little out of control.
Yep. And you'll see Barrel Roller is now standing in the Crucible penalty box, which probably led to Cat Scratch Fever calling that jam and ending it so that they can have a power start here on this jam with Dalek Doll.
And Dalek Doll is able to get through that pack and pick up lead jammer as Barrel Roller is released from the penalty box, now jamming for the Reservoir Dolls. So the Vixens able to put a fresh jammer on that line. Reservoir Dolls trying to give Dalek Doll some trouble up front. She gets knocked down and calls off that jam. And that is done before Barrel Roller and the Res Dolls can pick up any points. 4 for the Vixens. That's 158 now to the Reservoir Dolls 69 points. We've still got about 17 minutes to go in this second period.
I want to give a shout out to Rockabetty Salon. Visit Rockabetty Salon, beautiful new location at 1423 South Park Street for all of your beauty needs.
Ooh, I should have went to Rockabetty's.
You should have.
Next time.
I've been
All
there, you
right.
know.
Awesome. We've got Call It Wild jamming for the Reservoir Dolls against La March Madness for the Vixens. La March Madness picking up lead jammer status as Call It Wild, oh, just knocked to the outside there, out in the front of the pack. Not getting a pass or a penalty there, but also not going to be lead jammer. So La March Madness, who is lead, calls off that jam.
And we're going to go to a quick commercial break. We will see you back shortly.
Welcome back. You're watching Madison Roller Derby. I'm Dolly Pardon Me.
And I'm Ligorium Reaver.
And we're watching the Vaudeville Vixens take on the Reservoir Dolls in the second period of our grudge match for the 15th season of roller derby here in Madison. Vaudeville Vixens are in the lead, 160 to the Reservoir Dolls, 69 points. And now on the jammer line for the Reservoir Dolls, Nat Splat going up against Jocelyn Hell for the Vixens.
Jocelyn Hell has taken lead jammer status for the Vixens, but Nat Splat has also completed her initial pass. So now we have Jocelyn coming up, takes an outside line and calls the jam.
That's right, Cyanide and Honeybeast knocking Jocelyn Hell to the outside there, forcing her to call off that jam before either team can pick up any points. And folks, we want to thank another one of our sponsors, the Cooper's Tavern. Need to fuel up before a bout? Whether you need some liquid courage or a cozy place to recoup, the Cooper's Tavern has you covered. Named Madison's best restaurant, it's right on the Capitol Square, open 7 days a week, serving elevated pub fare and an extensive selection of craft beers, wines, and whiskey from around the world. Now we've got the Mad Gabber versus Dalek Doll. And the Mad Gabber out of the pack first for the Reservoir Dolls is your lead jammer. Dalek Doll caught in pursuit. And the Mad Gabber calls off that jam as she sees the Reservoir Dolls blockers in the back of the pack. So knowing that Dalek Doll can pick up some points, she decides to call off that jam.
Very good strategic move there by the Mad Gabber.
That's right. That's right. Keeping the Vaudeville Vixens points to 0 in the jam is more important than trying to get some points yourself, while they may end up outscoring you. You never know. Now we've got Barrel Roller jamming for the Reservoir Dolls against Cat Scratch Fever for the Vixens. Barrel Roller is your lead jammer for the Res Dolls, and this is 2 lead jams in a row that the Reservoir Dolls have gotten. The kind of momentum change that they need. Barrel Roller holding on that inside line and getting passed on a point-scoring pass. The Reservoir Dolls doing a great job on defense, holding back Cat Scratch Fever in the front with Cyanide, Ms. Mechanics, and looks like Hellwoods. Barrel Roller trying to get through the back of the Vaudeville Vixens defensive wall there. Makes her way through and picks up another 4 points for the Reservoir Dolls.
Cat Scratch Fever has removed her helmet cover, and we will see there is, yes, an Ian's Pizza star pass to her pivot.
And that pivot was, oh, it looks like Radio Smacktive. The pivot there with the helmet cover with the stripe on dons the star now, and that will give the before Radio Smacktive able to try and get any points, Barrel Roller calls off that jam. A great jam by the Res Dolls, and Barrel Roller picking up 12 points in that last jam, bringing them to 81 points. Vixens with 161.
Speaking of the Vixens, they are going to take a team timeout, so I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Javon Al-Yassiri, psychotherapist with Madison Expressions Therapy. For over a decade, Javon has provided supportive, client-focused general mental health counseling for individuals, couples, and families in the LGBT community and their allies. Javon also specializes in providing gender identity counseling services for the transgender and gender nonconforming populations, taking an affirming approach towards each client's gender expression and goals. Private pay and sliding fee scales are available. For more information or to schedule a free phone intake appointment, please visit Javon's website, MadisonExpressionsTherapy.com.
That's right. We want to thank all our sponsors. And also another reason, Reaver, that folks should come on down here is they can make beautiful signs, like it looked like Honey Beast's friend or family member had a beautiful sign up for them that we saw on the screen. You can get your sign showing up on that overhead jumbotron.
You too
and you can
could
also
be Derby famous.
That's right. You can also see the mascots pulling all kinds of shenanigans, and you can see awesome action like Call It a Wild there, running out of the outside of the pack, picking up lead jammer status for the Reservoir Dolls. La March Madness hot in pursuit behind her, and as Call It a Wild gets through the pack, it calls off that jam.
1 point for the Reservoir Dolls and none for the Vaudeville Vixens in that jam. Again, with the strategery.
That's right. Lots of strategy going on that we may not even know about. So these skaters are getting together in their little teams beforehand, before they line up on the pack. They've got a goal in mind. And then once that action on the track starts, everything kind of just happens. So we've got Nat Splat jamming against Jocelyn Hell now on this jam. Jocelyn Hell is your lead jammer for the Vaudeville Vixens. And Nat Splat coming around the outside there just as Jocelyn Hell calls off the jam as she gets through the pack.
That's going to be 2 points for Nat Splat and 4 for Jocelyn Hell and the Vixens. You know, one of the things I love about roller derby is that there's still a fair amount of DIY and a lot of things we do together as a community.
That's right.
And WORT also is kind of the same way. It's volunteer powered, listener sponsored, and it relies on listeners for 70% of its budget.
Yeah, we want to thank WORT and all of our sponsors, especially those folks in the community giving back. We've got Mad Gabber now on the track for the Reservoir Dolls, your lead jammer, going against Dalek Doll for the Vaudeville Vixens. And the Mad Gabber through the pack there, picking up 4 points and almost catching up to Dalek Doll, calls off that jam. So the Reservoir Dolls really taking the last few jams and making that momentum switch ever since Barrel Rollers, I believe it was 12-point jam. They really have not allowed the Vixens to score many points. So 88 for the Res Dolls, 165 for the Vixens, and still over 10 minutes in this bout. You can also help us find and secure a new home to hang our skates for the long run. Check out MadisonRollerDerby.org if you want to donate. And now back to the action. We've got Barrel Roller again against Cat Scratch Fever.
Barrel Roller has again taken lead jammer status. Cat Scratch Fever still working to take her way up through the pack. Meanwhile, an impact from Barrel Roller earns her a back block penalty for an impact that sent Cat Scratch Fever to the floor. So now Barrel Roller is off to the Crucible penalty box, and the Vixens can focus on their offense to get Cat Scratch Fever through the pack on her initial pass.
Cat Scratch Fever and the Vixens now with a power jam. And the defense of the Reservoir Dolls, though, out there. We've got Honey Beast, Melee, and Slyanide holding Cat Scratch Fever back for a little bit, but she does get through. She's not lead jammer because that did go to Barrel Roller, so now this jam will go for the full 2 minutes. And it looks like we had such a big hit there that it might have knocked the helmet cover off of Cat Scratch Fever. Cat Scratch Fever picking it up, getting the helmet cover back from Bonnie Riot. And as Cat Scratch Fever trying to pass the Reservoir Dolls defense, we see Barrel Roller coming back onto the track from the penalty box.
We spend a lot of time talking about whether or not the helmet cover is on or off a particular skater. One of the key things is if a jammer is not wearing that helmet cover with the stars visible, they are not eligible to earn points or lead jammer status. And that's why the status of that cover can be so important.
And both jammers now trying to fight their way through the pack. Barrel roller and cat scratch fever ending that jam after the 2 minutes. 7 for the Reservoir Dolls and 4 for the Vaudeville Vixens.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with you in a few minutes. Hello, Dolly, pardon me.
Hello, the Gorham Reaver.
And hello to all of you.
That's right. Hello out there. You're watching Madison Roller Derby. We're watching the Reservoir Dolls take on the Vaudeville Vixens. Back to the action here on the track. We're seeing Call It a Wild jamming for the Reservoir Dolls in black against La March Madness jamming for the Vixens in pink.
La March Madness has taken lead jammer status. Call It a Wild is still attempting to complete her initial pass, but La March Madness has completed her first scoring pass and puts up 4 more points for the Vaudeville Vixens.
And the Vaudeville Vixens defense, they're recycling into the front of the pack, but Call It a Wild still pushing through that pack on her initial pass. La March Madness looking to the bench and then calling off the jam as she picks up another 4 points. And the Vixens taking back that momentum now with 8 points, leaving the Reservoir Dolls with 0 in that last jam. We want to thank our sponsor, Jim's Coins in Hilldale. Cash in today. Top prices for coins, jewelry, and more.
Jim's Coins in Hilldale.
Jim's Coins in Hilldale. Jim's Coins in Hilldale. And now taking the jammer line is Nat Splat jamming for the Reservoir Dolls against Jocelyn Hell jamming for the Vaudeville Vixens. Jocelyn Hell pushing that pack up and getting out of the pack first, picking up lead jammer status for the Vaudeville Vixens. Oh, and Nat Splat with a nice turnaround there, almost knocked to the outside by Bonnie Riot, but she stays in bounds.
And it looks like Jocelyn Hell is going to the penalty box because they have picked up a track cut penalty.
That will give Nat Splat and the Reservoir Dolls a power jam. Not to mention that this jam will also go the full 2 minutes. So the Reservoir Dolls stopping the momentum of that track, lining up behind the Vixens. And then right as Nat Splat comes around the track, they move up against the pack and play some offense. And now Bonnie Riot taking down Nat Splat in the back of the pack. Nat Splat getting right back up and into the action with 2 blockers to pass. Nat Splat gets through that pack, picking up another 4 points.
Jocelyn Hell, meanwhile, has been released from the Crucible penalty box and is returning to the track to continue her point-scoring endeavors. Completes a pass and puts up 4 more points for the Vaudeville Vixens.
And meanwhile, Nat Splat through the pack, picking up another 4 points. That's a total of 16 points now for the Reservoir Dolls. Meanwhile, Jocelyn Hell through the pack and passing T-Rex picks up another 4 points for the Vixens. And this jam going the full 2 minutes really tires out the jammers. When you can call off that jam after going through 1 pass, it's a lot more advantageous and strategic than having to play that whole 2-minute jam. But both jammers now scoring points, as many as they can through the pack. Nat Splat going to pick up another couple. That's a total of 23 points for Nat Splat and the Reservoir Dolls. 12 points on the board for the Vaudeville Vixens.
Shout out to our sponsor, Maduro, located at 117 East Main Street. Maduro is a swanky bar which offers rotating lineups of cigars and beers, plus wine, cocktails, and weekend DJs.
And you just saw that replay of Nat Splat's awesome footwork as she pirouetted around on that outside line while Bonnie Riot tried to block her to the outside, out of bounds. But yes, a lot of time, practice, and commitment from these skaters to get to that level of play. Now on the screen, you'll see the penalties, and we do have 1 skater on the Reservoir Dolls and 1 skater on the Vaudeville Vixens with 6 penalties each. If a skater receives a 7th penalty in the course of the entire game, they are removed from play, so they will have fouled out. That's a little different than being ejected from a game for a egregious
Egregious
violation.
behavior,
Yeah.
kind of dangerous things.
Exactly.
Not doing, doing things
So-
that will hurt people.
So we do have a little bit of penalties kind of evenly displaced or evenly dispersed against both teams. There we see the Vaudevillain and the Reservoir Doll mascot,
Ms. Garnett.
Ms. Garnett, both going at some shenanigans.
Going at it with each other.
Yeah.
We got some skaters doing a little dancing in their downtime. And we've got Willie Creek Street Co-op, where everyone is welcome. Stop by and check out the best selection of organic, natural, and locally made food around. And dance. I'm sure they
That's
will
right.
not object to you dancing in the
No.
aisles.
You may even see some Madison roller derby skaters dancing around Willie Street Co-op or other local established eateries. And we're going to see, it looks like the referees discussing with the skaters and captains now after the dance party has taken place. And they'll get back to lining up for this next jam.
Again, a big shout out to our newest member of United Derby Officials, Local 608 Cupcake Battering, who is our alternate referee this game and has just brought us the word. This official review was taken by the Vaudeville Vixens. They wanted to have a back block assessed on the Reservoir Dolls jammer from some interaction that was about midway through that previous jam. Upon review, the no call will stand, so no penalty will be assessed, and our gameplay will continue. The Vixens will not retain their review.
All right, and when a team does take an official review, it's like a timeout as well. So if they win that review, they retain that timeout. If they do not, then they lose that timeout. So now the Vaudeville Vixens jamming Dalek Doll, your lead jammer for the Vixens in this jam, going against the Mad Gabber, who is now just out of the pack. Dalek Doll knocked to the outside and has to recycle behind Cyanide. As she sees the Mad Gabber coming into the pack, she decides to call off that jam. And it looks like 2 points picked up by Vixens and 1 point picked up by the Reservoir Dolls. With just under 4 minutes to go, we've got 191 for the Vixens and 120 for the Reservoir Dolls. You are watching the Madison Roller Derby season 15, and Reaver, we've been around since that first season.
Oh my goodness.
It has been a great time. We could go on and on about history.
Especially the two of us.
Exactly. But definitely check out, if you have not already, check out Madison Roller Derby online. Learn a little bit about the teams, about any upcoming events. I know we've got some fundraisers going on during the summer, as well as some great events out of town, out of Madison, featuring our Dairyland Dolls and our Team Unicorn.
You know, we mentioned that the Dairyland Dolls are going to be playing on the road. You don't have to go that far.
That's right. Just as close as
May 31st to June 2nd is Midwest Brouhaha in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The DDs are going to be playing there.
That's right.
And some of our officials will be there officiating. It's kind of like Madison Roller Derby with friends.
Exactly. And you don't just see two teams take on one another. That whole tournament, you see a bunch of skaters.
It's going to be 33 games over 3 days.
all
That's a
right.
lot of derby. There are 2 tracks running simultaneously. So if you get a chance, please swing on over to brewcitybruisers.com and look for the information that they have on the Midwest Brouhaha.
That's right. And that's coming up pretty quickly. If you're watching us after
So
that
quickly.
takes place, then definitely check out WFTDA, and you can check out all of the roller derby action around the country and the world. This sport has just taken off. And now you're going to see Call It a Wild and La March Madness jamming for the Reservoir Dolls and the Vixens, respectively. And Call It a Wild out of the pack first is your lead jammer for the Reservoir Dolls. La March Madness is right on her heels, right on her skates and on her wheels. And Call It a Wild into the pack there, knocking down Bubba Luscious. It looks like as they impacted one another. No points on the board for either team. That jam ends. And it looks like we've got another pack lining up.
Do want to give a quick shout out to Daydream Properties. They make your dreams of home ownership a reality. And who do we have in this jam, Dolly?
We've got Nat Splat jamming for the Reservoir Dolls and Jocelyn Hell jamming for the Vixens. You saw Jocelyn Hell get out of the pack first and is your lead jammer for the Vaudeville Vixens. Joss now out or into the back of the pack, knocking into Honey Beast there and doing a little pirouette around in the front. Jocelyn Hell picking up 4 points as Nat Splat's recycled to the back of the pack by Hoppy Go Lucky. Skates get tangled up a little bit as those skaters knock one another around, trying to gain the best position. Jocelyn Hell through the pack there, picking up another 4 points for the Vixens. And Nat Splat going up in the front of the pack against Bonnie Riot. Bonnie Riot just doing an extremely great job of blocking for the Vixens this whole season. Wearing that pivot helmet cover also allows Bonnie Riot to be the receiver of a star pass, if that is what the jammer so chooses to do.
And it looks like Diaphragm has gone to the Crucible penalty box. That, I believe, will be her 7th penalty, which will be a foul out. Her team will have to complete this game without her on the track.
And Jocelyn Hell looking tired now through that pack. Nat Splat shaking things off as well. Nat through the pack for another 4 points. And it looks like Jocelyn Hell still just going strong in this jam. Although Jocelyn Hell is lead jammer, she has not made any indication that
we do have
they
about
want to call
4 more
off
seconds
the jam.
on the game clock, on the jam clock, than we have on the game clock. So I expect they're going to let this one run because their lead is fairly secure.
And I did not see that. And this game goes so fast sometimes, but it looks like that is going to be our unofficial final there. And you see Nat Splat and Jocelyn Hell both approaching the pack there, trying to get through and get points. Nat Splat around the outside as Jocelyn Hell does get knocked down. But the Vaudeville Vixens pull off this win here with 208 points to the Reservoir Dolls 135.
Well done to the Vixens.
Well done, Vixens. They did a great job throughout the whole game. Reservoir Dolls really coming back strong in that second half and gaining some momentum. But it looks like
didn't want anybody to get a free scoop of ice cream from Chocolate Shop.
That's right. That's right. So the Reservoir Dolls doing a great job tonight. The Vaudeville Vixens coming out victorious in this grudge match. So they will be the 3rd place team for the Madison Roller Derby. And they're going through that good game line where all of the audience members, again, if you're here live, you get to high five all of the team, all of the skaters. And now the Reservoir Dolls also making their way around the crowd. Both teams now able to celebrate together a great season of roller derby.
Thank you all so much for joining us and watching the roller derby action. We really do appreciate it. We're glad that you have spent some time with us, and we hope that you will also be able to catch our championship game between the Unholy Rollers and the Quad Squad.
That's right. I am Dolly Pardon Me.
I'm the Goram Reaver.
And you have been watching Madison Roller Derby. Hi, folks. I'm Dolly Pardon Me, here with Wolf Rammer of the Vaudeville Vixens. And Wolf Rammer, the Vaudeville Vixens, did a great job today of bringing home that win. What types of things did the team do to prepare to get out on the track today?
Well, I think it's really been a season-long effort for us. So the way that we did our training this year was very much stepping it up. So at the beginning, we were working on individual skills, and then we added a second skater, and then we kept going from there. And right before semifinals, or right around that time, we started doing our full strategy of having a tripod and an offense. Don't tell anyone, it's a secret. So
all those strategies of roller derby are secrets, right? Great job tonight. What things stand out for you about this bout? Things that the team just really came together, maybe said at halftime or did to really bring the team cohesion to this point in the finals?
Just a focus on staying together. If you're in that tripod, trying to be together, being low, staying low. If you're that offense, always aiming for the person that your jammer is on. So really focusing on taking out that person. So that was what we tried to do, and I think that's what we achieved.
I think you did. Great job tonight, and let all the Vixens know they did a wonderful job, and we want to thank you for everything.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, thanks, and have a good night.